well, thanks for coming back and joining us for another one. I'm Brent Locklear with the Woodsman Perspective podcast, and we're down at Chris's camp house today. You can see we got some decorations behind us.
We borrowed them. Brandon brought some in for us.
Yeah. And look, a lot of times we've had a kind of a common thread. Look, and I know it's coming up on turkey season, but look, we're always thinking about deer, and so we've been talking about a lot of our postseason follow up, and we've been talking about some things around deer, and specifically how our seasons seem to go. Where you locate a superstar, and y'all heard us talk about the Michael Jordan, that 1 in a million or whatever superstar that's got the potential. And so we start talking about that, and we started talking about how, man, before you know it, you're doing everything you do is sort of around that one deer.
No question, yeah.
And we got talking about that, and I said, you know who would know more about that than just about anybody I know? That's damn Brandon Huerkamp.
That's right.
So we made a few phone calls, and we got Brandon in here. And Brandon, I met Brandon through work. We had a work relationship where he's a farmer, and I deal in electricity. So it's sort of where ag and electricity meets is where we got to know each other. And pretty quick, I could pick up on, he turkey hunts, deer hunts, makes turkey calls. We had a lot in common right off. And
well, he's crazy about whitetail
and
deer.
this dude
That's
kills
right.
a hammer or two every year.
Every year.
With a bow.
With the bow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your dad bow hunts a lot too, so both y'all kind of
he mainly bow hunts. Yeah, he loves it.
So Brandon, thank you for coming in and talk to us, and we want to talk about sort of the behind the scenes, what goes into that managing, identifying, growing, protecting, and managing around that, basically living your life around that one deer, that one superstar.
Well, y'all know how it is. Sometimes there's a lot of luck involved,
Right.
But there's a lot of preparation.
Right.
Yeah, you do it year after year, and ain't look, Brandon. Every year,
I try to be a little humble.
I started looking for that Facebook picture. I asked you one time. I said, "Man, what kind of tree is that?" Because every year you're photoing with a giant deer in front of that same tree.
Now.
And look, everybody's looking at them things and I wonder where that's at. I wonder where that's at.
By zooming in, so I need one of those trees in my yard.
But you know, before we got on air, I was visiting with Brandon because I'd never met him personally, but heard years about his hunting abilities and how he manages these deer the kind of the same way that we want to manage these deer, that we manage them ourselves.
Yep.
We identify a deer, okay? And deer to people are different. If you're happy with a 140, so be it. That's what you need to kill.
That's right.
Wherever you set that goal.
But you started off kind of like we all did, humble beginnings hunting these deer.
That's right. Yep.
You're in a good county, Knoxville County, Mississippi, but you wanted more.
Exactly.
You wanted
exactly.
you kill a 140, you kill a 150. Now you say, you know what? I want a 160.
That's right. Yep.
So you go to 160. Now, hell, Brandon, you're in the 170s.
Yeah.
And I mean,
at some
that's
point you just
took
start
me a while
hunting
to break
mature.
that.
Like you start hunting age.
Yeah, we hunt.
years
I
rather
hunt
than
age
horn.
more than anything. That's
Right.
that's
Age
really
more
what
than
I
inches,
that's
really.
what I strive for is
Right.
age first of all.
And seeing, we're not biologists here, but we're in the woods a lot. You're in the field a lot.
A lot of
That's
real
right.
world.
We see
And,
a lot of real world experience.
5 and 6 year old deer. That's what we're trying
right.
to kill.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my game. That's your game.
Yep.
And so getting to that point, everybody's got cell phone cameras. Okay, everybody's cell phone guys, and like we was talking, anywhere you go, hey, Chris, look at this. What do you think about this deer? But we identify them the same thing. So on my place, and I don't know about your place, and you'll answer on that. But if we find one or two good genetic deer that we want to save or mature, ready to kill.
A lot of times you're identifying that dude at maybe two
and 3
especially
years
by,
old.
Most
by
of the time,
three, most time he's showing
most of the time at 2. You can tell. You can tell that special deer.
They're going to
around
show
2
2.5
years
Yeah.
old. That's
Yep.
right.
He-
Exactly.
Because you
Unless
can show
some of
me
those
some
eights will
pictures.
sneak in on you, but most of the time, if he's got the genetic code for
Well,
tines,
he visited some pictures with me, 178, and deer at 2 years old look like something you'd call.
Yep.
And that kind of makes me wonder because we shoot a lot of culls.
He's made me think a lot now.
of
for
culling.
the upcoming years of
right.
what I'm not going to shoot just to
But
see what they do.
I say the people that are really serious about killing these big deer, and everybody is. Look, you're not going out there planting all these green fields, burning this stuff, buying land. You're trying to kill a big deer.
Yeah, well, look, let's set the table long because we let's not run too far. You mentioned you're talking about a specific deer.
That's right.
And I know you. I'm not going to put you on the spot to brag, but let's just give maybe the last 3 years or so. Run down that resume. What led to us bringing you in here?
The last 3 years of deer.
The last 3 years.
Well,
or so,
how
'cause
about
you're on a
this
pretty
year?
good run, aren't you?
How
I
about
had
this year?
a
You're on
pretty good run. I've killed. I tell you what, I think 2015 is when I killed my first over 150s with a bow. Yeah. And then it took me a couple years. Killed some, with a bow. Killed a couple nice deer after that, 30s, 40s type. And then 2019, I shot a deer that I named Capone. Right. That was just a stud. He was just shy of 160.
Awesome.
The next year, I think I killed 3 over 130 to 140. No, it was 150 with the bow. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people hadn't seen those.
Right. That's right. Well, you got really nice deer.
He looked at me kind of funny when I said 3 years.
That was,
he got real specific. He said the last 3 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Well,
you got to
back it up a little bit.
Hey, check this 170 out. How the hell don't worry about them 150s? I mean, hell, we'll get them later.
And then this past year,
past year. Yeah, I reeled them in.
Really good deer.
I had a phenomenal season. I killed that first deer that I called Mondo that just blew up. I was telling you about earlier.
100 pounds.
That was probably he was probably roughly 170 last year as a 4-year-old. 120 maybe inch deer. Blew up to 152. Killed him. He was 274 pounds.
No, that's in Mississippi, y'all. That's not in Kansas or Wisconsin.
That's right.
That's Mississippi.
That's Mississippi. These are all Mississippi deer.
Right.
And then on the same property, and it's funny, on opposite ends of the property. Now they're not even a mile apart.
Sure.
These 2 deer. One that Mondo was 152, and the deer I call the Dagger Buck was 155. He's a mainframe 8-point with a couple kickers and stickers.
With that big old dagger on.
That's right. I killed him I killed them all within 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. Mondo him, and then that 178. Golly. And that Dagger Buck, though, him and Mondo, they never crossed paths that I ever saw. They never. I ran my cameras,
but lived on the same place.
Lived on the same farm. I own 450 acres right there.
That's wild.
And never saw either of them on either side of the
so that gives y'all some context.
Yeah.
A couple of things. One, why we wanted to bring you.
Well, his credibility.
Because this isn't just. This is none of these I would say were, and this isn't dimension. There's a lot of people love the mystery and the luck, if you will, in hunting. Like we said about picking what kind of deer you want. Whatever you're in it for, go do that. That's great. But these are deer you identify and you intentionally it becomes that one-on-one.
That's right.
And that's what's fun. That's right. That's what I enjoy. It's that chess match.
That's right. And like I said, that the Mondo deer that I was telling you about, I've watched him for 2 years. I may know him from when he was 3. I don't recognize him.
Right.
The other buck, though, I've been watching him all summer. I have a feeding program that I have my deer on all year long.
Right.
And
all year.
That helps.
All year.
Yeah.
And when he showed up, I knew he was going to be a superstar. I knew he was going to be a super nice deer. And then, he actually disappeared for a little while. So I only hunted that 10-point Mondo. That's the only deer that I hunted.
Because this other one was gone.
The other one was gone. Yeah, he was gone. Disappeared. He came back. And about the time I killed Mondo, really, he came back, and I went and I started hunting him. And actually, my daughter, my 4-year-old, after I killed that deer, I was like, I'm going to take a break for a few days. I'm not even going to hunt this Dagger Buck.
Right.
She likes to run. I don't know why. So I was on my golf cart. She said, let's go run. She ran straight into that deer. Hey, that deer, I had him on camera, watching him on camera. She ran right to him and ran him off, and I just laughed. I was like, well, he'll be back sooner or later. We're on a farm.
That's right.
They're used to us running back and forth through
and y'all run production ag on this property?
Production ag, yeah, that's right. We row crop, corn and cotton.
So, Brandon, don't you think, let me ask you this, and we talked a little bit before, don't you think those deer, the more you spend around them all year, they get used to you?
Oh, they absolutely get used to you. Absolutely.
I mean, you told us a little thing about slamming a door.
When I feed one of my properties, when I get done feeding every spot, I'll just slam my door. I'm not worried about them. I'll talk to my buddies or whatever.
Right.
Slam my door.
Conditioning them.
Condition. Now, they're used to me. By the time I leave, I can barely get off the field and on the road. And
Camera's
I'm getting
going off.
pictures. Getting pictures of them. They're coming in.
And what my idea about this podcast was, I was telling Brent, I said, Brent, we talk about managing these deer and getting them 4 and 5 years old. But really, every one of us, even the people listening, we get pictures. Look, I watch that Seek One. My daughter loves Seek One. And this is, we'll talk about
they
one
kill
of these deer that she
giants now.
killed giants. But he finds them.
That's right.
Lee finds them, finds them on them, and then he hunts them. And he'll find them sometimes 2 years before he ever kills them.
Yeah.
And so what we're saying, and I was sitting there watching it, and every time Kate comes to my house, we're watching deer. She's 18 years old, 17 years old, and we're watching deer hunting.
Yeah, and she's killed.
Yes.
She kills some big deer.
Yeah. And
That's
so
a big deer.
So she she loves it. And I started watching. I started putting it together. I said, well, we're doing the same thing here.
Yeah.
On a different scale. We're running these cameras. Look, I go through.
You just ain't doing it behind a McDonald's in Chicago.
I go through a camera for every 75 acres. Okay, I put a camera for every 75 acres on this place. Okay. I don't think I missed many. Mid will argue with me a little bit on missing some. But between me and Dr. Reed, we ain't missing many.
Yeah.
And with cameras, and I think you'd agree with that, Brandon, everybody's got these cameras. You very rarely see where'd he come from?
It's not very often.
Very often.
Not
I mean,
very
somebody.
often that's something
Open your eyes to how much ground they're covered. Though,
Now you may see one for the first time when you get into that 178, because what you told us took 4 days to kill him.
Took me 4 days.
You saw him and you was like, wow, where'd he come from? But then as soon as you killed him, a neighbor says, hey, Brandon.
That's right. Called me and said, you ever seen that deer before? I was like, well, I had pretty sure it's him 2 years ago. Like I was telling you, on the same plot.
Right.
Probably just about to this day. I mean, it was right before turkey season. I had cameras out looking for turkeys.
Right.
And got him on camera. I know it was him because you could see
way
that non-typical side, on that left side.
And the guy was how many miles away?
He was right at 4 miles from where that deer came from.
And that's crazy.
Yep.
And y'all, the landscape of this land where this deer was, it was a lot of row crop, and then it migrated towards Brandon's, which was all thick timberland.
That's
type
right.
stuff.
It's all pines and oak trees,
right? And just
it's
thick
all
stuff.
woods. Yeah, that's right.
And it's really weird. When you're in, which my background's in timber business, but I actually cut the timber off Brandon's place 14 years ago. And now you own it now.
That's right. Yeah.
Dr. Docky owned it then. It's crazy that circles, circles where people come around and meet.
And that place now, whenever we looked at it the first time, I called my dad and I said, man, we really ought to check this place out a little more.
Right.
It just came up for sale. I was like, this is just a really, really good spot.
Right. It's always in a good area.
And that's right. It's a honey hole. That spot is a honey hole. There's been multiple really nice deer killed off of that place. So we made it work.
Yeah. And it's
it
funny.
was one of the best things that we did.
I was telling Brandon 14, 15 years ago, a little boy out of high school had never even killed a deer on that place that Brandon's got, one of his places. And the boy put him in a deer stand, and there was 3 or 4 of them little young boys. They weren't about 14, 15 years old. He kills a 174, 16 points. And back then, that non-typical 16 point. And here we are 14, 15 years later, you're killing a 170. I mean, predominantly deer.
It's funny how some tracks produce year after year.
That genetic code.
Magic.
That genetic code is there.
Just where it's sitting in the landscape.
And it's close enough to ag, that spot that all of my big deer typically come from. That's right. That's right. They're coming out of that ag and they're moving up into me. But like I was telling you earlier, that 178 that I killed, I was probably the only one in that area that had any green forage,
good food,
and that's when he showed up. I had those turnips,
because we fought a drought. What Brandon's talking about,
great.
We fought a big drought in the fall this year. I mean, we didn't get rain any adequate rain. What, late November?
It was great for us, farm wise, because we got everything done.
Yeah, got all
in a good amount
prep.
of time. But for
good
food
harvest.
plots,
but they was a 1 week.
I was saying there was a week.
There was a week real early that it rained.
Yeah, if you got them
a
in
couple
there,
inches of rain.
That's right. Yeah,
and then it was that, and I know of 2. You being the second one, I know of
got
another
2
guy in
inches.
West Point that grew some, and Bobby Cole was one of them. His grass grew up and looked like $1 million.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what really made the difference in that deer coming in, because
Making him
stay. Whenever he found that, he came in and he just stayed.
Hell, he didn't stay long. 4 days.
No, he didn't stay long.
I wasn't playing around too much now. You have a deer of that caliber, you got to hunt them.
He may have got 27 bites before that arrow got him.
Man, I had to sit on my couch and watch it because I had terrible wind, and I was like, "There's no point in hunting anything else. I've already killed these 2 big deer. I'm not going to hunt. I mean, if I go out to shoot a doe or something, I'm not going to hunt any other bucks." So I had a north wind blowing straight across my field. For 2 days, I had to watch him on camera because he came in
every day.
Every day he was on that property.
Sickening.
And I finally, when the wind swapped out of the south, I snuck in there.
You was able to sneak in there and get him.
And he came in. Well, this is when he came in at 6:15 or something before the time changed.
Right.
And he came out. I had to watch him at 150 yards. For the rest of the evening, sparring with the buck.
Now, Brandon, tell me how you got out of that stand. Tell me how you got out.
I waited for it to get real dark. And I walked straight north, which is some of the thickest briars that you will ever see in your life.
To
and
keep from blowing
I
him
did
out.
not want to blow that deer out of there. And I told my dad, I said, I may have to get my dozer in here and push road
you
out.
alone. Yeah.
Just,
You know,
in and
that's
out.
those extra little things that you have
That's
to
right.
do. That's you could have blown that deer out that evening, and the story ended right there.
That's
Well,
right.
I
exactly.
tell people all the time, and I've coined this term, but applied pressure. That's a pressure that he wasn't used to. Okay, you would have got down, walked across that field, blew him out of there. We don't know what he had done.
May not have ever seen him again.
May not, and you know, he may have not have cared. But when they're that old and they're that peculiar,
Hey, they're not dumb now.
that's what I'm talking about.
me ask you
He
this.
just
They got that age
come
reason.
4.5 miles
That's right. That's
through
right.
some good land to get to you.
Yep, that's
You're,
exactly
you're hunting
right.
around that field, and like I said, you're waiting for the right wind. You're waiting for that south. Are you hunting a lock on that's there? You got a climber where you can adjust. You can get it a
I
little
tell
bit
you
different.
what,
How do you
I
go
have
about
a
that?
lock on that field, and my dad's getting a little older. You know, Dad.
Right.
He got to he's
ain't gonna
kinda
appreciate
getting-
that, but-
Well, see, he hadn't said this to me, but I think he's getting to where he doesn't like climbing those lock-ons anymore. He told me he wants to get away with more movement.
Yeah.
So we actually put up a Banks blind from Ryan Bostic.
Okay.
Noxby Farm.
Yeah.
I bought one of those, and we put it out, and I actually killed that deer out of that Banks.
Out of a ground blind.
I had it elevated.
elevated.
I got it
okay,
elevated
elevated
14
blind. Okay,
feet.
yeah.
That's right. But Dad, I'd rather get in that than that lock on anyway. But you know,
Little
so
look,
Dad
you,
had
you
it. I
get
just
busted
happened to
a
have
lot.
it there.
I like a lock on, but you can get busted.
You can get
can't
busted
get away
real
with much,
quick,
especially
If you
real
go to
quick.
moving
But
around.
you get 5 or
Right,
6
yeah.
does out there.
Typically, I only hunt out of lock-ons. I love
Right.
a lock-on, but hey,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
sitting there.
And
that
that's-
thing was comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering how mobile, like how specific or how surgical you might get with the wind, because like a lot of times I like. So when you talk about wind and hunting the right wind, a lot of times what I've found is if the wind's perfect for me, they may not move because it's put him at
Yeah.
such a disadvantage. So sometimes you want maybe a cutting or a marginal wind. So I just didn't know if you made
Well, on
if
the
you got mobile and would.
Well, on this field, Brent, I had no other option for a stand, lock on anything. There was
You had
trees.
one- yeah.
I had one line that has trees big enough to put a stand in,
Right.
and that's only with the south wind. You go to the south side of the field, really small stuff. There's no way you can put a stand.
I
I could put a
apologize.
And that
ground
goes to
blind.
not forcing it.
I
man. That
apologize
goes-
cutting it 14 years ago. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's it.
It's fine. It's worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, we start talking about the wind, and people will hear us. You know, it's so surprising that good hunters, that I call good hunters, they don't pay no attention to the wind. Oh, you just go. No, you don't. I use ozonics. I sprayed down. No,
Or they
you're not gonna fool them. They may allow you to be smelled and not run off, but you ain't gonna fool them.
Yeah, and it's a whole different game with the bow.
Oh, ain't
that
no
bow
doubt.
range instead
That's
of
right,
rifle.
no
You get away with
doubt.
a little bit with a rifle, but
You know, people say, "Hey, man, I had all kind of deer, Chris.
I smoking
right at
cigarette.
'em.
How many times you heard that?
Smoking
Hell, I
cig.
smoking.
Yeah, I was puffing one out, and then man, they don't even run. They didn't run because they didn't feel danger.
yeah,
But don't think they didn't smell you.
Oh yeah.
Because when she sticks her nose up, she knows, and she looks at that shooting house. She knows you're in there.
Yep. She knows something ain't right.
She may not run,
Yeah,
and it
and
goes back to pressure, not blowing every deer in the world down. You can get away with something sometimes.
yeah. And a lot of those I was smoking stories because the wind was right.
That's right.
Yeah, you could
And
be
they were just
smoking.
simply
Yeah, that's
smoking.
right.
So
I mean,
when
that's
he
right.
was puffing that cig, it was blowing behind
That's
him.
right.
The day before I killed that deer, I did the window up. I wasn't paying any attention to the doe in front of me because all I was looking at was him. Mm-hmm. And I did that window just real slow, and I heard her blow. I said, "Oh boy!" And he looked up.
Golly,
I said,
That'd
"I
make
just
you
blew
nervous.
this,"
Yeah.
and he went back down the feet, walked on around the field, raked
His
his thorns on
stomach,
some trees.
got him.
Oh yeah, he
But
was
there
hungry.
again, you wasn't running up through there, rangers and everything else. It was
That's
quiet.
right. That's right.
One thing about bow hunting, and we'd go to Buffalo County, Wisconsin, and hunt, and we ain't done it in years. But you can kill, and you're a proven fact. I mean, you're one of the. I'm gonna get back into bow hunting here. Brent will tell you I ain't bow hunted here. My bow's right in there, but I haven't bow hunted on my place
you're
in
planting
years.
so many other people's.
Yeah, well, we plant
property,
a lot of
managing
food
a lot of
plots,
tracts.
doing
You
stuff.
can't do nothing
Well, it's
October.
usually the driest time when people are bow hunting. We're planting fields and doing everything else, trying to get ready for winter to get here. Deer plants getting kicked up. We're trying to get everything ordered, but that's probably one of the best times to kill a big deer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that
No
early,
question.
Early
The
season
first,
and rut.
the first
people-
week
no,
or
no.
so is my favorite time.
You know, when people always say, "Oh man, the rut, you get him in the rut." Well, I may get him. Brandon may get him 4 miles away.
That's right.
He may get him. In that,
He may get got,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean you'll get him.
yeah, that you
A
know
lot
what?
of what we're talking about goes to, we've made this point a lot of times, there's growing big deer
Yeah.
and there's killing big
Killing
deer.
big
no
deer,
doubt.
that's right.
Yeah, and
I tell you
that's
what
the
I have
two
done in
different
the
games.
past too. That deer I told you about, Capone, is just shy of 160. That was my biggest deer at the time, 2019. I let my wind get not bad, but just
sketchy.
bad enough,
Marginal.
extremely marginal. And that
I
deer
swear,
came
man.
in, and he did not have a care in the world because that he had
'Cause
the
he
wind.
had it.
He had the
I'm telling
wind
you.
from where danger was supposed to be coming from.
People don't.
Never thought a second
People
thought
look at
about
me
it.
sideways when I talk about that. But
That's right. I
let's
love
just-
a marginal wind.
I love it. I'll call it a sketchy or a marginal wind. If I go in from the south and I got a north wind and I think he's coming from the north, for him to make that walk, basically it's like you walking through New York City blindfolded.
That's right.
I mean, you've taken his defense. So if you got a little bit of a cutting southeast or southwest, he's going to feel safer. I can still get away with it. And that's why I was asking you. Sometimes I'll use a climber just because if you offset to one side, that
To make kinda like a pink
yeah,
spot.
and I
Cutting
will
wind.
move around as I can, but you
Yeah,
know, I'm a
but-
lock-on guy. I'm not really a climber guy.
Yeah,
Right.
but
But I move
I'm
if
glad
I
you
can.
said that.
Then I
because
do move, but yeah, I love a marginal wind.
marginal or a sketchy wind because he's got to feel safe enough to walk in it.
Exactly.
If the hunter
Exactly.
has the perfect wind, he probably is not going to walk in it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a good point.
Because
I'm
he
glad
feels
you brought that.
defenseless.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's blindfolded.
Yep.
He's blindfolded.
And I'm gonna, going to
We're gonna
identify.
coin that term, marginal wind.
That is. Look, we may can we patent them?
We'll try.
Yeah, we've got to apply the pressure and margin. We come up with all
Sketchy-
kinds
sketchy
of
wind.
the woodsman's respect. We come up with all kind of stuff. But going back to Brandon, identifying one at 2 years old. Okay, because I love this type of stuff because I do it every day.
Yeah.
And one of these deer here, and we may talk about it later if we get into it, but we first identified him in the shed sitting right there when he was 3. We knew he was going to be pretty special. So the next year, and we fed him. We plant large lab soybeans.
That's about when we started
Eagle,
doing that,
yeah.
fencing those beans.
And
those
started
eagle
fencing
beans.
the beans. I fenced them for like 45 days, 30 to 45 days. So I try to get them in there early, let them get up because there's so many of them. But, you can plant, this, you're a farmer, you take deer loss every year, more than most people
Oh, yeah.
are
Absolutely.
doing as much acres as y'all farm.
Well, they've gotten to where they're eating more cotton these
Yes,
days than just
they-
about-
that's
they will
right.
tear a cotton
What's that? The
field
salt
up.
or sodium? Or
Do you
something
think
in
that's
that?
what it is? What
I've
do you
always
think?
wanted sidebar here, but I'm curious.
I don't know what it is.
But they just now started getting, last 7-8 years started wearing cotton
they
out.
love it.
Do you
They
think
love it.
Do you think they're going now mostly because it was most of Knox Buchanan was soybeans and corn for a long time.
Long
Then
time.
y'all kind of brought the cotton, the Huerkamps.
Yeah, I think-
no cotton. Y'all were bringing cotton in, and a lot of the Mennonites are planting cotton.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot. It's big cotton county.
Big
now,
cotton
these
county
days.
now.
Yeah.
So you think maybe just that they're getting used to eating those crops? They just said,
I think
know
a
what?
lot of
We're
it is
gonna
that.
have to change.
I think a lot of it is that's just what they had to eat.
Yeah.
But they like it.
They starting to like it a lot
they,
more.
They like it. Yeah.
Because
it's good for
what
'em.
Brent's talking about salt content, and Brandon's a farmer, and get into it, but most of the stuff are Roundup ready varieties.
Well, see, that's what I've always wondered if it was something with the
Yeah,
Roundup that
sodium
would
or
spray
salt
on it.
or
That's
Roundup.
right,
Yeah.
and they liked it. But I'm just not sure that that's what it is.
Maybe they're getting
You used
a
to see
taste.
them bedding in it because it
Yeah.
was so
They
clean
still,
on there,
man,
shady,
when
and
I'm
they,
spraying
But
the deer during the
cotton,
year,
cotton's
jump 'em
not
up all
an
the
attractive
time.
plant to eat. I mean, if you just look at cotton, it's got. I mean, it really ain't. I mean, I ain't attacking a cotton farmer. I mean, we start talking
grew
about
up for the shirts, man.
Yeah, that's right. And the good looking tag on front of the truck.
That's right.
But it don't look as lush as a soybean would.
That's
look.
exactly right. Yeah.
But cotton's real stemmy.
Yeah.
When you
They
agree,
always
real
very
stemmy,
That's right.
but
Yeah,
they eat
it's
it.
a woody plant. So
They do. They eating it.
They love.
I mean, they're wearing
they
it
like
out.
it. But
I don't know.
maybe somebody will do some research, figure that
That's
one out.
one we're going to step in for a biologist. Look, if there's one out there listening, we need to know why they're eating this cotton. And I think Staple would want to know too, could save some money. But so going, Brandon, you seen these deer because we did the same thing. So we went to feeding these deer, and I went to planting 10 acres of soybeans for one deer.
Really? Yeah. That's
That deer right there,
Blade Runner.
I believe it.
I fed him. I mean, and look, me and Brent started running cameras early because Brent
Yeah,
found
we
one of the
videoed
sheds.
that deer at 3.5. I
That's
got
right.
video of him.
Yeah.
Me and Delia were hunting in the concession stand. We got video of him and saw him
me-
several times.
and
that
me and
year,
Marley
but then-
Kate saw him.
And the
I mean,
next
we-
year, he
we
was sort of a
identified
homebody.
He
too.
was. I was
He
telling
stayed in
Brandon,
one kind of area.
He stayed in 80, 90 acres. Just stayed there. And Marley Kate, which she loves this farm more than life, and she grew up here hunting, and we named the deer because of the big blades.
Yeah.
And I think it was that Olympic
About
guy.
the same time,
The Olympic
yeah.
guy
He
come
was in
in and got
court.
a little trouble,
We had Blade Runner.
shoot through the bathroom door or something. But anyway, we won't get into that little move. But he, so we just named him. We said, look, we want him. I like this deer. So the next year is when it walked out.
Could have killed him.
She could have killed him at
10 times
160 inches,
at 4.5 years old.
and he was 4. And then she got up there. Now you talking about 10-year-old girl. And I said, Kate, there he is. She's in my, she's sitting on my leg, and I said, if you want to shoot him, go ahead. She said, well, Daddy, you said he ain't before. I said, it don't matter what I said. You want to shoot him, shoot him. I mean, there he is. I mean, and then she was like, would you shoot him? I said, look, this ain't no. I mean, we
about
not.
me.
Yeah. This ain't. Look, I'm good. I'm good with you shooting him. She said, no, I don't think I want to shoot him. So then it put the heat on me to keep him alive. So let me tell you, look, we talk about offensive feeding.
Yeah.
I was defensive feeding. I was
Yeah.
putting feed and keeping
Yeah.
him close, and let me tell you something. You can do that to keep them. And I say defensive feeding. I'm not trying to be a high hat, but I didn't want him to get killed because, Brandon, I think you would agree with me. Brandon, I know you would. Not many people would allow a 160-inch deer to go, and
Not
I
very many
could
at all.
not.
And not just in Mississippi.
No.
Not that,
I
that
just-
Paul made it with
No.
all he had.
Yeah. And I just, I couldn't be mad if somebody did kill him.
And his body, so remember that year, he
Yeah.
was kind of small. That
Yes.
frame looked even bigger. Like
Yeah, I
he
mean,
looked
he
like
was,
180.
Brandon, we got, I've always said we got 2 different deer. We got the big dark ones that are big, 225, 30 pounds. We got the same ones down in this bottom that you got in Knoxville.
Yeah.
But we also got the littles, the shorter ones. Short nose. kind
Very
of a-
distinctive.
I've
Very-
got that at
full-
my one of my
Yeah,
places.
200 pounds
yeah,
is
that's
a
right.
big one. Okay,
Yep.
200 pounds.
Yep.
They don't get that 230 and 240. And he was one of those type deer. And he wound up weighing about 220, I think.
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5,
Yeah.
But he always had that little real short, structure. And but we put those beans on him, and I kept feed, and he
Man,
put a
we
lot of
got
heat on me.
running
but we
cameras
got him.
early that
But
next year.
look, she got him in youth season because I knew
Yep.
if I didn't get him in youth season, if he's that dominant deer, if he gets on a doe, it don't take him long to get gone and get shot.
That's right.
So she killed him during youth season. Rest of history, made the front page of the Clarion
Yeah,
Ledger.
Brian Broom did a
Brian,
write-up on it,
Brian
yeah.
did a good article. Anyway, so getting to that point, we identified that deer. There was other nice deer, but we just like you do, that's one that we want to get. Okay, now it's a flip of a coin. The end of January, they take a whooping, fighting, whatever they do. Okay, running does, running these gals
Oh
everywhere.
yeah, they got to gain their
They-
weight back.
They got
and
that's
they've
right.
gotta
I
come
mean,
back
they
from
got
a
to come
lot.
back healthy.
I've got
So-
some that still look pretty
So
poor right
we have come to inclusion. Me and Brent, a lot of them we get on film. We got them January, and I do a big February camera survey. I just got through with mine. I've got them. I put them in a book for next year. Well, sometimes we don't see them next year. Well, they're dead.
now. That's right.
Something happened to
You
one
lose. I
of
think
them.
we lose a lot more deer than we know.
We lose a lot more than we know, and so that even makes identifying that superstar and hunting that superstar really harder when you look at the statistics to make it work.
Yep.
Now that's when we try to say, hey, the more we can get into that, if you have 2 or 3 superstars, sometimes you have, like you said, you kill 2 on one farm, over 150. I mean, them are 2 superstars, no question. But a lot of times we don't have that option. So we're doing it because we love it. I can look at you.
exactly right.
I've talked to you for an hour now, and I can tell you right now he's crazy about it. He likes to grow big whitetails, and you like to kill them. But growing them, it's a challenge to you.
Oh, I love growing them.
Yeah, and it's just
I love
cool.
watching
The
'em.
land, and
Yeah,
I mean,
I love
it's just a
everything
cool
about it.
part of it.
Yep.
But I think everybody that listens to our podcast that likes deer, everybody wants to get that older deer. I mean, I love it when people come to my deer play. They don't come up and say, "Hey, Chris, come look at this 6-point." I mean, they're gonna say, "Hey, I got him. Come on, look at him." And I get fired up. I love it. I love when people kill good deer. I mean, it's just, especially my friends and the people that do it.
Do they
right.
get you tore up? Like when you identify one, you get on one. Is it?
Oh, that's all I think about. No, it bothers my wife so bad because that's all I'm. She's like, "What are you doing?"
I mean, there's some real anxiety.
You
around.
know,
Like
and I've had several that I've watched.
Look,
from
I'm not
3 to 5. The one I killed last year was a 144-inch. It made him from an 8, and he just had one little, barely made him a 9, about an inch long. And I watched him from some time he was 3, and just watched him, prayed he wasn't going, wasn't going to die.
Knew at 3.
I
knew at 3.
I knew for a fact.
Special.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be a nice deer. I knew he wasn't going to be just a monster, but 144-inch deer, that's a nice 8-point.
Yeah, that's right.
That's really nice
8-point. That's a classy 8-point.
Man, he hit 5 years old, and I think I killed him October 2nd. I had him.
That's cool.
I had it planned out. I knew what he was doing. And, a lot of my hunting it revolves around work. Because there's times that I can't just hunt October 1st,
Well, when
2nd,
y'all got
3rd.
crops in the field,
We got crops
number
in, they got to come
number
out.
one.
Yeah, exactly. But if I have a minute,
You gonna
I'm
go.
gonna slip up in that stand.
Yeah.
And we have typically, we've kind of been a little wet most falls.
Yeah.
The first fall. And if we get a little bit of rain where I can't pick cotton or something like that.
Right.
I'm getting in the stand.
Yeah.
And I've just been lucky enough that I've killed them fairly quick,
Yeah.
in October.
Well,
much,
but you stay on top of them.
How often do you prefer morning, afternoon, evening?
Evenings.
Do you try to
Evening
avoid?
man.
Do you stay out there in the morning?
What's
your approach?
I do not hunt in the mornings.
I don't hunt much in the morning
Because
I don't bow
and-
hunt much in the morning.
Well, my thing is, the majority of the time that I've tried to hunt in the mornings, I have run off more deer than it was worth.
getting in there.
Exactly, because and I'm hunting in a lot of open fields too, especially.
Right.
On
So they're out there
places.
feeding.
Access is
And
about impossible.
it's impossible out there, and they're all in those fields, and it's just not worth it to me. In the
I can
evenings,
count the deer in this, and I got a crazy memory. I can remember everything. 95% of them I killed in the evening time. I know of one deer that's a 161 right up that wall right there. I killed him in the morning. That's the only one I've killed in the morning. And
mid morning rut.
I talk about it, but I don't never do it. I mean, I just evening time I'll go in there, and if it's a good deer, I'll get my butt in there a little earlier.
Yeah,
if I can, and sit. Look,
access is just so much better.
That
and
2
easier.
o'clock to
That's right.
4 that you get in there, you may not see much, but everything's quiet.
Yeah.
You let any kind of
exactly right.
commotion settle down.
and honestly, I think I can sneak out better in the evenings.
yeah.
Because
when it gets
I
dark-
leave, I mean,
Look,
I'll turn my lights off and ease out.
But if we're hunting, you think about this for a second. If we're hunting a place that's got a lot of deer, you do. They don't know the difference much. If it's black dark and you hear they're not parents say, you know what, that's a human. I mean, you can get away with a little more, especially
right.
the wind's right.
That's
Let it
right.
get dark. Get
well,
on.
you're
out.
also sitting there watching them, so when all of them leave. I try to let all of them get off my field,
Right.
and then I slip down to my Can-Am or
And get
whatever
out,
I'm
and
on,
get out.
and I ease out, nice and quiet, as quiet as I can anyway. I think it makes a difference.
It does. And I'll walk 400 yards to the stand. I'll park that far from them. And the way I got this place set up, the way I set up most of the places that we got, and the girls, my girls, I teach them, hey, the approach, getting in, getting out, it's a big thing. Getting in, getting out.
Yeah.
And they're on to it. I mean, Kate will watch her. She said, Daddy, we think about the wind today. I said, you ain't going over there. Yeah. You know that wind ain't right. Well, I didn't know.
So what do you do anything aside from hunting the wind? Do you do anything extra for scent control? Like, do you have any?
I tell you what, I have
you have any
I have
tricks?
an ozonics.
Yeah.
Do you use it?
Yes, sir, I do, and I believe in it for the most part.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to say that it's
That
100%
marginal
a tree
one
stand.
that you're talking about, that marginal
when
wind?
I hunt a marginal wind, that ozonics is going in that tree with me.
I
Otherwise, if
look,
I have a
I
good
see
wind,
it
I
on
don't worry
TV.
about it. But
That's cool.
I'm not going to say it's 100% because I know it's not.
Right.
But I guarantee you,
But it's that
at
extra.
least,
It's insurance
It's a
policy.
little bit. It's got to be at least 40%.
It may
I mean,
jam
it
them.
helps some.
It may jam them a little bit to
Well,
not.
and especially since you've got that mentality, which I share, is when that marginal win is your best odds. So you got to take a little something.
Exactly. And I'll spray down. I'll take a scent-free shower, before
Yeah.
I go, especially specific deer.
Okay.
I'll take a scent-free shower and I go a little bit
Yeah,
beyond what I would normally do.
I've
just
hunted a lot
because
of people that do that.
Typically when I'm hunting a big deer
He's
in
a
the
big
bow
deer.
season,
Yeah.
he's a big deer.
That's right.
150 plus.
That's right.
So
You're not. You're going after a deer that's 5 or 6 years
I'm
old.
going after 5 or
He
6
has
year old,
seen
that's
and
right.
smelled and done it
he
all.
has been there, done
Yes.
that.
Yep.
Yep.
Agree.
Do you have and I'm gonna hit you with some random kind of just maybe off the wall question some, but I'm just curious because I've just some things that I do. Do you have some tracks? Do you have a place you can go and just kind of where you can just go shoot does or
yeah.
Take the pressure
couple
off.
questions in
I
there.
tell you what,
Like obviously on these places when you're hunting a specific big deer, you're not going in there to shoot does. So
Well,
do you
there's
have somewhere you can relieve that trigger finger.
Oh, I've got plenty of places I've got buddies that have land that we can go shoot and do whatever we want to. But
Right.
That helps. And I say that because that helps because we all love hunting too. Like you can burn out if that's all you got and that's all. If your whole season is this one big deer and you're going and going,
a lot
and
of people make that their season.
Yeah,
but if
a
you
lot
got
of people
somewhere
do.
else,
Oh, I love going out there
if you got
and
somewhere
shooting
you can go
those and just
sling
getting
some
out of your
arrows.
system.
That makes this easier.
That's right.
That's kind of
I've got several spots that I can go out there that I'm not worried about. Go out there and shoot some does,
and
shoot
that's
whatever
a big
I
deal.
want
That's
to.
important.
I've got a
about
little
that
spot where I killed those 2 big deer this past season that I can shoot. I shoot my rifles, whatever, and it will not bother those deer whatsoever.
Wow, just used to it.
I shoot suppressed when I'm shooting my rifles typically, and that helps out too.
Yeah,
because I like being quiet.
That loudness.
I like being quiet as much as I can.
Look,
but
that goes to that culture we tell you. You create a culture on this. It's kind of like training a dog. You're either doing it actively on purpose or passively by things you don't realize you're doing.
Exactly.
And
Like I said, when I was
create that
feeding,
culture
when I'm feeding, I make certain noises. It's kind of weird, but
and they're used to it. I feed off a Kawasaki mule, okay, and I got a Ranger, but that Kawasaki mule holds more, and so we can carry more bang for my buck.
Yeah.
But they know it. They know that sound. And I usually try to feed them on every Wednesday or something like that.
Yeah, they know those different noises.
And that's right. And I'll try, and especially if I'm patterning a big deer, trying to grow one, I'm going to come down here all through the summer, and I'm going to drive it one time a week.
Yeah,
I'm going to drive
Keep
through the whole
conditioned.
place. Yeah, I'm going to drive through the whole place because look, we take about most people. January 31st is the end of our season. Guess what? It's gone. They're gone. Everybody's gone. They're at the ball games.
Won't come out here till next year.
They're at the beach. They're doing
till
all
next
this
fall.
stuff. Then next
Or this
fall,
fall,
when that
yeah.
tractor's in there disking or bush hogging or spraying, then those deer like, where's this been? But I do think, and I have a train track that helps. I think that helps. It comes through here every day. Slow train. They look. I mean, so them
It's
are
conditioned to that
they're
interaction.
conditioned to that.
And
you know,
I'm like you, Chris. On both of my properties that I hunt, my main places that I hunt, I'm out there every week, one time a week, and I put pretty much almost a whole day every single week, and I get tired of it. you
Right.
know. There's times where I'd rather stay at home with my kids and
That's
play with
right.
my kids, and
That's right.
I take my little girl. She got old enough where
She liked to
goes with
ride.
me, and man, she
That's
loves
right.
feeding deer.
Yeah.
And she loves doing all that stuff.
Marty Kate did the same thing.
But I go out there and I spend a lot of time feeding during the summertime,
Right.
year round, and that's what it takes. If you
What
want to
do you
shoot those
think?
really big deer, you
Yeah.
have to put in the
I
effort.
just fixing to ask you, what do you think? Do you think that feed that you do all summer, are you 80%, 100% think that's
it absolutely helps,
think
and
so
it'll.
too,
I tell you,
yeah.
but I tell you what it'll do. It's mainly genetics. You know that.
That's right.
It takes genetics
On
to have
that
a
stud,
monster.
on that Michael
That's
Jordan.
right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that superstar. That's genetics. But this feed, what we're feeding, what I'm feeding them,
Taps him.
it can take that superstar and it's going to add something to him. But it'll also take an average deer, a 130-inch deer. It'll make him 140, 145-inch deer.
Put him up.
It pushes him over that little next level.
Yeah.
You
get him that healthy.
That's right. That's right. So you can still add to those just sort of average deer.
right.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
You and Mitt have both said it as well as you can say it. You can't, let's say you can't impact or you can't do anything about genetics, but you can sure offset. You can help a lot of poor genetics with nutrition and age.
Exactly.
You got
Exactly.
those three pieces of the puzzle: nutrition, age, and genetics. One
You look
can't
at that
fix, but
protein
the two
intake. You
can.
look at that intake, that deer, and you keeping him healthy. You're getting him back from the rut. Hey, he can, if he's ready to explode, if his body's healthy, his horns are going.
That's right.
It don't matter what he is, 6-point, whatever,
Yeah.
trophy one. But you're getting him and you're feeding him in a high protein, probably high fat content food.
Well, look, here's
Yeah,
the
that's
other
right.
thing.
Yeah.
You're feeding the does too. So
Yeah.
you're taking that stress out and healthier doe,
Exactly.
healthier phone, hitting the
Exactly.
ground quicker. So that's
exactly.
you're giving them that head start.
Yeah,
from-
it's not
from the
always just
start.
about the bucks.
That's right.
Ain't
That's
no
right.
doubt. I mean, one of them's carrying 50% of the potential. Yeah. And Brandon, do you shoot a lot of does? Do you believe in shooting a herd down?
I try to shoot
Do you probably shoot as many as you
quite
should?
a few. I don't shoot as many as I should, and I'm kind of picky on the does I shoot. Honestly,
Gotcha.
I'm paying attention to their fawns. If they have twins, triplets, whatever.
Because that's a healthy girl.
I'm not shooting that
producer.
doe. Yeah, exactly. I'm shooting the ones that come out with no fawns.
Okay.
Trying to anyway, or if they've
bear.
got a single fawn that's old enough that I don't like shooting does with young fawns.
Right.
Yeah. My personal opinion, I don't
Big
like
softy.
it. Yeah.
So we've got
sometimes.
Brandon, you studied deer, so you like it. But we did a study down here in 2009, 10, 11. So we tagged known age bucks, ear tags, and when we dropped the net on them, if there's doe under it, I said, look, let's tag them all. We got to put them to sleep because they're in that net jacked up. So we tagged them all because I wanted to see, hey, if number 335 it tagged on my place, but Brandon Huerkamp's got him over there 11 miles away, I want to know.
It's a good data
it's
to
a
have.
good data to have, but it gives us data. It wasn't data for the study at Mississippi State, but Brandon, we've got 2 does. One of them's right across this railroad track, and one of them was killed on Dr. Reed's place this year, 2010. Okay.
How old were they when y'all?
They weren't known age, right? Did they know?
One of them was not known age. We figured 1.5, 2.5.
Okay.
One of them was a fawn.
Yeah.
A doe fawn. She's 14.
14, 15-year-old
Yeah.
deer.
And they killed her this
That's
year.
incredible.
And
you
then
don't think of
one-
them getting that old, really.
No,
not in the wild.
Well, we think.
That makes me wonder how old some of those hen turkeys are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Ancient.
Yeah. So we think, and my neighbor over here beside me, he's a good. They're a conservation family, and they've got some good places. And he said, Chris, I ain't gonna shoot her. I said, that's cool. Let's don't shoot her.
Yeah.
Because she was tagged on me, and but she's living on him over there, which from crow flies 100 acres over there, but she's 15 years old. That's something we say, dang, here we go. Every book we read, 3 to 5 years, all they're gonna live in the wild.
That's all you ever hear.
That's all they teach, and that's all they say. But we know we got pink tags in her ear. And didn't nobody grab her last year and say, "Look, let's swap these tags out. Let me give you. Let me swap these tags for a little of that food right there, And so, but yeah, she's 15 years old, and that's pretty cool. Now the bucks didn't last.
Yeah.
They got smoked down pretty good.
All right, so Brandon, you're somewhat of a cover boy for Mississippi Bow Hunters Association. So let's talk about. Do you shoot a lot outside of hunting? You shoot a good bit. You're into bows.
I do not compete, but I shoot my bow quite a bit. I'm mainly now. I talked about shooting suppressed and all that rifles.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mainly bow hunt.
Yeah, right. I knew that.
That's my. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. How far? Like, what's your take? You're hunting a lot of ag ground. Let me go ahead and say this up front. Like I've hunted back. I used to shoot 3D and I used to shoot some 3-spot back. I shoot a lot. And I used to hunt summer bean fields, and was very comfortable 60 yards, maybe a stretch further, depending on the conditions, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy to some people, but that's legit. The equipment
when
today,
you have,
and when you shoot that much,
it's not as long as you can practice, man. The sky's the limit with these bows.
Yeah. Look, we used to shoot. I'd shoot out in the yard, and I had a trick where I could shoot. I could shoot out to 50 on a pin. I had a 50 pin. And then I could anchor and then look in the V above my peep. And then my 20 pin became a 60 pin. My 30 pin was like a 70 pin. So I had pins all the way out to 90 yards just by changing. And I'd never heard a buddy of mine put me on that. And it's crazy how accurate it was. But now I wouldn't shoot at a deer at 75 or 80. But, of course, at that time, that's 12, 15 years ago. Technology's come a little further now with the speed on bows. But
my bow
talk
is
a little bit
set
about
up.
that, about your
my
approach
bow
and how
is
you
set
are with
up.
your archery equipment.
I could technically shoot my bow to 100. It's accurate to 100.
Yeah,
It has a pin
yeah.
for 100 yards. I've got it at 100. I personally will not shoot that. I'll shoot 50. That's my
50's
breaking
a
point.
chip shot when you're. I say that tongue in cheek. Every situation
It ain't
look
to
different.
me.
But when you shoot in the yard, I'm gonna say for Brandon, 50 yards is a chip shot.
50 yards isn't bad. In the yard, I'll back it up. If I go on a trip somewhere, like I've been to Arizona mule deer hunting, that kind of
You
stuff,
got to be
get
ready. Elk hunting,
80
or out
yards.
west.
I'll shoot out there to 80, and I've been in times I have been extremely accurate at 80.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
here
we used to stack them.
I don't push it a whole lot.
You don't have to.
Man,
and
if I
from
can
in
get
hunting
that
conditions,
sucker,
you don't have to. That's,
15 yards. I'm all about it.
Yeah, and I feel
know?
I say all that to say I feel what I love about bow hunting is similar to my approach to turkey hunting. It's not how far I can kill them; it's how close I can get them. I subscribe. That's my philosophy.
Yeah.
But I do. It's fun to get out there and shoot and stretch those bows out.
Oh,
Watch
yeah,
that arrow
yeah,
fly.
in the yard.
100 yards, watching an arrow fly
That's right.
and hitting where you want. That's fun.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if y'all to get into that this summer, get out there with your bow and do that. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it's
Brandon,
a lot of fun.
another tool, and we was talking before the thing, and I asked you, and you answered it, so I'm going to ask it again. All those big deer, did any of them ever surprise you? Had a picture. Did you have a picture of them before you killed them? Almost every one of them that you can remember?
Most of them, except for the 178, which
Right.
was
And you got him 4 days.
4 days
Yeah.
before.
Right.
So, but no, typically
You're going to get
I
pictures.
don't have surprises.
Yeah.
I know pretty much everything that's on my property.
And Sherwin, Sherwin Jost, he put me on these. He's him and Brent's my tech guys. I'm old school. I don't know how to run. I run no camera.
What
with
you
a
wanna
card.
call it.
Little bag of cards there, but they got me on those reveal cameras.
Yeah.
Best
Love
thing,
them.
best thing I've ever used. Now I want the older ones, not because they're $88 you can get them on eBay, but just because they're easier than them.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you something. You put enough cameras, and Roy Oswald showed me that trick in Missouri. You put enough cameras on a place, you don't get no surprises.
No.
And I
not.
tell you this: when you key in on that deer that you want, you can find him. You can find where he's coming, where he's leaving, where he's spending that time at with enough cameras.
That's right.
Now and listen, people say what they want to. I like that tool, because why do I want to waste?
Yeah, and so that's
Brandon,
the eventuality we're gonna get.
You
to.
got 4 or 5 places you hunt, just like you do, Brent. Why do I want to waste? We may only have a couple days. You had 4 days.
That's right.
You had never seen him before. You had 4 days. You killed him. What about that 5th day when he went back over there 4 or 5 miles where he
could
came
have
from?
disappeared. Yeah, exactly.
And so we don't have but just a
Get shot by a 7-year-old with a crossbow somewhere.
right. A woman or kid's gonna kill you there every time. I'm saying that.
An Amish with a crossbow.
Yeah, I'm not hating, but I'm saying.
How many times you said Amish with a crossbow on Facebook
Yeah,
every year? It's
Ohio.
the same thing
Yeah.
every year.
And you think, man, where'd that guy come from? But we look at all this, but you don't have but a couple encounters with these big deer.
That's right.
And if you don't take advantage of them, you may not get that next
Missing
encounter.
out. Yeah, you might miss out.
Yeah, and,
Exactly.
and let me tell you something. How many deer have you had on camera that you didn't see no more? And you're like, man, where's that? I remember. I had a perfect 12. You remember him, Brent, down here. Brandon, he was perfect 12.
They were
He was
beautiful.
4 years old. Perfect 12. I shot him, wounded him. Here we go. But stacked. 165 inches, and he was 4, and I knew he was 4, and I shot him at 4. That was, I'm just telling you.
That was impulse.
That was
'cause
impulse
you didn't, that was,
because it was bar none a Boone and Crockett.
Yeah.
Bar none, he would have been a Boone and Crockett.
he was Michael Jordan.
Yeah, no question. Perfect 12. I had him showed up the year before. Next year, boom, he blows up. Little
He
bitty
was
body.
running. He was the same year Blade Runner.
He was.
that same
and,
window,
and
that same year.
just times like that on him. And where was Smoke at when we needed him? Because Smoke could have found us. I blew
yeah.
blood out of him and pushed him. But anyway,
I'm surprised you brought that one up.
I still think about that deer.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years ago.
I had a deer last year.
I've been
that
thinking.
was-
It's just
he-
wow.
He actually ran with the 8-point that I killed, and they were same age. When I watched him at 3, picked up a shed, 4, and actually I picked up his 4-year-old sheds this past summer. I went walking and just happened upon him. 5, he was just a straight 8, giant
found both
browse.
sheds, both
I
of them?
found the 3 and the 4, and at
But
5
both
years,
sheds?
I found both sides with the
Wow.
4 years old.
That's cool.
And they were laying about 10 feet apart, probably.
That's cool.
At 3, I only found one side.
Got you.
But at 5, he was. I knew he was going to be something pretty good.
Right.
He was 150, probably mid 50s, 8-point,
Yeah.
perfect 8, giant brows. He stuck around, and the only reason I knew he was there is because my cameras. I never saw him on the hoof,
Right.
and he disappeared December the 8th, I think, last year. Never saw him again.
Nobody knows where he's at.
Nobody. I don't know if he got killed. I don't know if
Yeah.
If
there's
he
always
just-
those ones.
If he just died.
You want to say
you know,
if he
naturally.
got killed, surely I would have heard about it. I would know. So
I
you still
told
kinda
everybody
think-
that. I've told my
Yeah.
dad that.
Yeah.
You know,
all my buddies.
it's
That
I
you
had
would
one.
think
I
that
had
you would
one
hear
I
about
hunted a
something
few
like
years
that.
ago. That Big 10, 155-inch deer on a small track, and I was patterning that deer, and the day I was taking off on a Friday. Everything high pressure, had the weather had the weather right. Everything was right, and I ended up I had needed to be at work for something that came up. I didn't need to not be there, and that deer was in front of my cameras all morning, and never saw him again. And so I came in there a few days later when I was able to get in there, and I could tell someone had been in there with a Ranger, I think just riding.
Yeah.
And never saw that deer again. And in the back of my mind, I know if somebody around there had killed him, I'd have known about it, but just never saw him again. Out of my life and gone.
Yeah.
Me and Brent went to a landowner, a buddy of ours, Tony's, at land he hunts, and Brandon was sighted up there where we live in Caledonia. It's not known for huge deer. It's got some nice deer, but there's a 165-inch deer up there, and friends of mine, and he's had pictures of him. Boy, he'd keep them tight, Hey,
Yeah.
Let me show you this one. Look here. He had a blinder and pull his hat off, But the deer just vanished, gone. So the guy that had land below it, another friend of mine and his, they were out jacking around during turkey season, I think, walking the edge of the slough. They didn't have any pictures of the deer. They looked down. Look here. 160-inch deer they pulled out there. High five. Man, look at this deer. It's awesome. Well, they didn't communicate, the two neighbors, hey, we ain't gonna show you.
Yeah.
and that's why I try to communicate with Dr. Reeves. Man, listen, it helps. But anyway, they didn't. People try to keep them hid. Well, that deer vanished for 2 years, and it's dead, been dead.
Mm-hmm.
They're up checking every time I check the cameras in the back of their mind, am I going to pick it up? So one day I saw the deer. So I picked the phone up, called the other neighbor. I said, hey, send me a picture of that deer again you had 2 years ago. Whoop, he sends it to me. I said, the deer's dead. No, it ain't. Where? I said, the neighbor found it in a slough. They contacted each other, went, looked at, took pictures, and your whole heart was like, but it's but they didn't communicate, but they found it.
Yeah.
So nobody had shot at the deer, they don't think. But he's dead.
You never know.
No, and maybe he's in that water.
I think you said it earlier. I don't remember if it was before we were recording or after, but man, so many of them die. A lot of them die.
Natural,
Mother Nature,
listen,
man.
y'all. Natural mortality will get them, and it's more of them die than you think. But it goes back to Brandon. Tell me about some feed. What do you like? I know you got something that you're working on. And you getting some friends
I've got a feed
push
that
you.
I've got a feed that I've been feeding for a few years now.
And you thought it up yourself.
That's right. And I kind of part of it I got from some friends and stuff out in Texas.
Sure.
That were feeding cottonseed. So I'm taking cottonseed and mixing it with a few other things.
Right.
Some herbs and spices.
Yeah.
And it's really worked. It's really
let me get some.
Well, we're gonna talk about it when we get off the air.
I'm trying to
commercialize it a little bit.
That's right. I'm gonna try to start small.
Yeah.
And it's
kind of
be
a
hard to
local
find.
market.
I'm gonna try to do it in bulk bags like you talked earlier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be kind of for the guys that can handle bulk
Well, I
bags.
want to try.
I know it's
some
kind
of
of a pain, but
the more that I've started researching, I looked at some DDGs, and then I looked at some other stuff, and we've tried. We went all the way to Missouri one time to get some dry distilled grains. Remember that?
Brought back a whole.
We brought back a whole truckload of them because that's when that bag flew off the truck and hit that man in that Fierro in Memphis, and that damn car went whoom, and I kept right on rolling. And somebody, we couldn't. That bag got
go
loose.
listen to this podcast.
Brandon, that bag got loose, and we turned around go get them, and that car hit that thing, jumped. I said, "Come on, boys, we're going home." So we kept riding. It's kind of like that fire. I'm giving y'all a tip how to get out of stuff because I have been busted enough. You just go. You just go.
Mash it.
Yeah, 'cause hopefully the next guy's driving a big truck and it don't affect him like that Fierro did. But I'm gonna tell you something. He hopped on it pretty good. But we've tried a lot of things.
I bet he said DDG when he hit it.
If he could have got us, well, you know how you farmers, they wrap them. Well, somehow that wrapping come undone. We got in Memphis, hit a bridge down there, bump, saw that bag come off the top of that thing. I said, "Oh God!"
Oh.
So we made sure we was out of right exits. They couldn't get to us. But anyway, it's but getting them what they like, feeding them, and do you see this feed?
Good for them.
Do you see this feed? Are they
Good for them, man. They'll eat it.
Are
And
they
they'll eat it.
attracted?
Exactly.
That's the thing. There's a lot of good stuff for them.
Even plants.
But
you
I'll
know,
tell you this much: when I fill up my feeders, they're empty within about 3.5 days.
Wow.
Gone.
Any corn? Any corn?
There's corn in the
corn.
blend. That's
Okay,
right.
yeah.
You have that cottonseed
Carb.
now, and I think
It's
that's
sour.
probably some of the reason why they're eating a lot of my cotton in my fields now. Mm-hmm. because I've been feeding cottonseed for a long time,
Yeah,
but I have
You
started
conditioned
mixing
them.
certain things with it that they just love.
that you like. That's good.
That's right, and it's also
cool.
got other stuff in it that's good for them
That's
too.
cool.
Cottonseed's a fantastic feed too.
Oh, the
High protein. It's
yeah,
like
the fat-
22% protein. There's
and the
all
fat
the
material's
fat.
real
Yeah,
good
there's
too,
good
yeah.
the fat in there for them.
That
It's a
oil.
lot of good. All that cottonseed oil.
I started reading.
It's really good for them.
I started doing some research on the cottonseed, and it showed people those exclusion cages in
Yeah,
Texas.
that's
And they
what
were
I was
eating
trying to
they were
start
eating
with.
it out of those exclusion cages.
That's right. Yep.
And I mean, it looked, y'all. I mean, it had cotton on it, and I mean, I was thinking, "Man, deer gonna, yeah, he gonna be hanging cotton out his mouth." But I mean, it was giant deer eating out of them, and you get on YouTube, it's nothing new, and look it up, and those deer eating that cotton.
That's right. See, that's the main issue with feeding cottonseed is that you have to have something that they can eat. I feed out of troughs.
Yeah, I do too.
Because gravity, I've got gravity feeders too.
It'll hang
They
them up.
can't. It hangs up so bad you can't feed cottonseed out of that. That's why I've got the mix that I came up with. I was trying to figure out a way to feed gravity for the guys that only had gravity feeders.
Yeah.
It ain't happening.
Right.
It
That's
just
right.
clogs it up.
It clogs it up.
At the end of the day,
Any
if you're a
moisture
big deer
gets
hunter
in
like
it.
we are,
Yeah.
Get some troughs.
what is it? Yeah, just get a couple troughs. I got
Look,
troughs sitting by every gravity feeder that I have.
I got them right down here. I got a trough, and
Easy
I
to
think
fill up.
I bought some stuff from Ryan yesterday.
Yeah.
He wanted me to try some Double J. Got some mix out, and
Okay.
and I said, Ryan, you got it? He said, I'm telling you, Chris, it's alfalfa based. He said, you don't have to mix any corn with it. So it'll be the first pellet I've never mixed corn with. So
Yeah.
I said, Ryan, I'm gonna try it. So I put it right down here below the camp house, and with no corn, because now I got those Texas Trophy Hunter. I got 2 of them, but that's just for protein, and we mix them with corn.
Yeah.
Until I get them on it, and then they take off.
Yeah.
And, but I try to wing mine. I plant a lot of clover. We got a Balenza clover that we really, really fired up about. I don't know if you've ever planted it, but you need to try it.
I've been
It is
planting
strong.
some white clover.
Yeah.
Durana. I planted.
I like
it,
Durana. I like Durana.
It just it stays so
You got some
small.
wet
I
areas
didn't-
that don't have good drainage. That Balenza.
That Balenza
all-star,
is. I want to show
Yeah,
you one day.
Durana's strong.
Yeah, I'd like to
Show
look
it
at that
It
because
is
this year I
solid.
need to. I got to get back on top of it.
Yes, it gets really, and I do my Durana for my turkeys.
Yeah.
because it's short.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
spray it.
It's
turkeys.
well drained
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
Durana's good.
And but that Balenza, I'm telling you, it's a game changer
Mm-hmm.
because if we start talking about timing, we want them as quick as they drop their horns, which is now in the next week or so,
Balenza's
2 weeks,
hopping.
and 2, when we start putting beans in the ground. What is that? What's the date on that?
I'm not a bean farmer. I'm a
April.
corn
Well,
and cotton. Yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
it's
In early April,
yeah, early April is
yeah,
weather
yeah,
relating.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So-
I've got some buddies that are. Yeah, as soon as we start planting corn,
Right.
they typically plant their corn first.
So
and
you'll
then
start
go
planting
into
corn in
soybeans.
March, won't you?
Well, you'll see a
No,
lot of
well,
beans
see, I've
come in
started-
behind wheat
We've
late.
backed up a little bit. We plant April 10th.
Okay.
is where
That's
we
what- that's-
kind of
that's
like to
your
start our
date.
corn. But we
Okay.
have a lot of irrigation too.
Yeah.
These guys they planted their beans first last year.
Yes.
and did
And
really
had
well
some
with it. They
Really
lucked
good
out. They
beans,
did
yeah.
super
70
good
80
with it.
bushels beans.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they're going to do. I think they may do beans again first
Yeah.
this year. So yeah, they're around mid-April.
Yeah.
first
You're
April,
flipping that
somewhere in
corn
there.
on that
Either
Easter.
way, you got that window
Yeah.
between antler drop
But, yeah.
and
But
being.
you
Even
wanna
if they're
keep 'em.
planting them, when they get
I-
up where they can utilize
I
them.
don't want them, when they're growing them horns back, I don't want a week to go by that they ain't got something.
plate-
Without
the
some
blade's
sort of
cleared
feed.
off.
That's exactly right.
Some sort of high quality.
Yeah.
Okay?
I told myself this year that I was going to get my feed back out towards the end of rut, and I hadn't done it. I've
Done
had
other
so
things.
much going on
Yeah.
with kids and everything. I hadn't done it. That's when I would really like to get my protein
Yeah.
back out to them.
Well, I put my minerals
is
out
at
this
the
week.
end of the rut.
I start putting my
But
minerals
the
out.
one thing that with cottonseed, and I don't think they eat enough to affect them, but it can sterilize them.
Really?
But it only sterilizes until it's a chemical called gospel, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
In cottonseed, if they eat enough of it, I
But
don't
if you
think.
got that other stuff in
Yeah,
there,
I don't
you're
think
not
they're
feeding
getting
them enough.
I've got a friend with a ranch in Texas that he feeds year round cottonseed and never had an issue with fawns.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're getting enough of it to make
Right.
that much a difference.
But you throw
But
it
if
out
they,
there.
like a cow, they'll sit there and eat it and eat it and eat it. It'll
But
sterilize.
you know this.
It'll sterilize.
Brandon,
the
you
bull.
know this. A deer ain't gonna sit there and just
They
eat.
don't.
Eat.
No,
gonna burst
no,
here.
they don't.
They're gonna go over and
They
get a little.
nibble a little bit and they
They're
go
gonna go
graze
over here and get
somewhere.
something
That's
else.
exactly right.
But
Yep.
but what we've got to do is every bite that they take over here, not just in the feed, but be a good bite.
That's right. You want
Some clover, some burn plantations. It's got some good stuff coming back.
Yep.
So every bite that we give them we want it to be high quality.
That's right.
You know, we know that the deer can eat bark off of a tree if they have to survive, but we want that best quality because we're trying to go to the horn production.
Exactly.
You know, we're trying to make that deer healthier.
Yep.
You know, so that's why, like we talk about tools in the toolbox, burning, supplemental feeding, clover, summertime food plots. Okay. And you know, and that's, I know we're getting serious on serious deer, but there's a lot of serious deer hunters out there. I mean, as much as these land,
these are serious deer behind me.
Is costing people, you know, much of this land's costing people now. They're getting in it. They're buying hunting places. They're wanting a place by Brandon Huerkamp. Okay, they're wanting that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had people trying to move in around me on some of my places.
But you know, as
Make
long
you
as
think about
good,
posting them on Facebook.
as long as they're good, and you're one of the only ones that I know that'll post them. And because my boy say, Brandon got another one. He looked at him. Mighty, what a deal! And it seems like he carries that damn cedar tree around with him because he always takes pictures of that one cedar
That's
tree.
very
I'm telling you, man, I keep
that
it
same
secret.
tree.
It almost felt like in Lee Mall when we were little kids, we'd go over and get that picture, that Christmas picture made with that little thing. And Brandon's got that deer held up. But it's to find somebody serious about it, and because you love it, I can tell. I mean, I can tell your demeanor about it and how you do it, and look, I guarantee. Look, to this year, I went and bought another buggy of corn from Sherwin them to keep 3 10 points alive. Okay, I did that. And I told Brent, I said, because I told my daughters, and Marty Kate to blow them down, and look, it's her place as good as it is anybody's. But I said, Kate, look, we got to protect these 3, and we watching them today. I mean, we've seen them last night on a camera, but you know, I defensive fed. I put extra feed. I did it because I didn't want them to get killed. They were in their 140s. Mm-hmm. They were 3 and 4. You know, I told you about my EHD.
Yeah.
You know, we had some, blue tongue kill a bunch of them, but defensive feeding these deer, you can do that too. I mean, it's very easy. Guess what? Don't shoot them and feed them. Yeah. That's defensive. Right there. They're
slaves to their stomachs.
They react.
That goes into what we talked about.
They react to it.
There's growing one. There's protecting one. There's killing one. I mean, you got to have all. Unless you're lucky enough to have property next to one of y'all, where y'all handle the growing, and I just do the killing.
Right.
But most of the time, it's kind of intimate. It's one-on-one.
Yeah.
You know that deer. You're familiar with him. You probably some of those times when you hunt one of those deer, it's the last thing you think about before you go to bed. Sometimes,
man, I've woken up
that sucker and wake
I'm
up.
telling you, I've woken up at 2, 3 in the morning
thinking about them,
checking
my cameras to see if they came back. Make sure they're still in there.
And I know it. People's like, dang man, that's kind of crazy, but
it is. So what?
It is crazy.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
extremely crazy.
Yeah, we hadn't denied that.
No,
not
but
one
that's
bit.
the game, and that's loving the land.
That's right.
Managing your own place. Seeing, I mean, and look, being around you don't seem like a hater. I mean, you if Lee kills a big deer, you fired up for Lee.
I love seeing my buddies
right.
shoot big deer.
Right.
That's exactly
It's
right.
The other thing is when you're running the cameras, and we talked about the tools and the things you do to be able to have that one-on-one, very intentional game, is you also that other deer. So you may be hunting one deer this year. You're engaged in this maybe with a 5-year-old. You got another 4 or 3-year-old.
You've seen one of them.
You already know him, and so you're not caught off guard. You're not surprised.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing too. That's the other side of the camera issue. It's not so much that not just that I identify the deer I want to kill and I pinpoint him and I use it to help me kill him, but I identify the deer I don't want to shoot.
Exactly.
So I'm not caught off guard. If he comes in there at dusk. When you're in there bow hunting,
and you because I've had times I've some of these deer now that have come in. If I didn't know that they existed,
you may have shot them.
They'd have gotten shot.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they'd have gotten shot.
But
If I didn't know about
already
them.
made that decision.
So that's one
You've
thing.
already
Talking
studied,
about people hating on
decision.
cameras.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things to me about cameras is that I know what I'm looking for.
It takes that element out of it.
Exactly. And I've had people say, well, it's cheating, this. No, it's not. It's a tool. It's a tool.
That, and I would even say the same to a degree about feeding and baiting. A lot of people, we come up through an era where it was illegal, and you talk bad about the guys that were doing it.
You kind of look around, make sure.
But what a tool it is to get the deer out there where you can make a sound management decision.
Exactly.
Now there's a lot of other things that go along with it with other species and corn and changing their patterns, and I get all that, but strictly from a management standpoint, strictly making the right decision to shoot it, puts them out there
where you can look
where
at them
you can make the right
You
decision.
can decide.
Brandon, this year, in this bottom, I don't know about yours, our acorn crop was one of the poorest we've ever had. We just didn't have any. Neighbors didn't have any. So what were those deer supposed to eat on? They can't just eat green.
Yeah, drought.
You
No
see what
green
I'm saying?
fields early.
Yeah,
no,
it wasn't a whole lot of
drought.
feed this
There
year.
was not
Yeah.
a lot. And even at the deer plant, we'd see does come in. They were narrow, a little skinny. But let me tell you something. It was a record corn year. My buddy at the co-op runs a co-op. I imagine Ryan would say it too.
record sales.
It was a record corn year for sales because
I've talked around about it. Yeah,
right.
They sold a lot of corn this year.
People were feeding them, but they didn't shoot everyone that come to it. Look, and I've had this conversation with Mark McCluskey, one of my dear friends. He's a game warden. I said, Mark, if I'm foolish enough to buy this corn and feed these deer legally, we can feed them legally, and I do it, but I only killed one this year, Brandon. I killed one buck, 153. That's the only deer I killed. But I fed plenty.
Yeah, and look, I've grumbled all bow season. I'm hunting small tracks, and I'll bow hunt some small tracks. I'm hunting acorns and funnels and all that, and I'll grumble and fuss about the feeding. So I'm not just talking out both sides of my mouth. There are things I don't necessarily like about it, but as a management tool on a property like this, we talk about having the places you can just go shoot, and then you've got a track where you're growing big deer, and it's more of a long-term game. It helps.
Oh, it
you
helps out
can't do it without
tremendously.
it.
We don't have. I hunted in one of the finest places in Missouri, Royals Walk. Great place. You'd go there, you'd see 15, 20, 25 deer, 150, 10 points on one place. Okay? 160s. He killed 180s. All these deer. We don't have those deer. We can grow them as big, but we don't have the amounts of them
No, not even
that
close.
they have. Okay, Buffalo County, Wisconsin. We hunted there for years, number of years. Every year we were seeing, killing a 150 to 160 to up to 170 deer on it every year. We don't have that in the South. Okay, don't you would agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We don't. So we've got to manage that one deer.
Yep.
We've got to
Exactly.
manage those two superstars. We've got to take that gamble, and it's a gamble. Okay,
Yeah.
natural mortality. Somebody shooting it. Somebody hitting by the car. Okay, we've got to take that gamble. But I think EHD. But I think the gamble is worth it.
It's worth it, and I'm telling you right now, I'm
You
gonna
got
do
deer on your
everything-
wall?
everything
That's
that
a
I have
deer
to do
on this wall.
to keep that deer
Alive.
on my place and alive. I'm gonna keep it as close as I can. So
Yep.
I'm gonna feed, like I said, I feed year round.
Yeah.
I sent you a picture of that deer when we talked the other day.
Yeah.
That's a 3-year-old. That's the one that I watched last year at 2, and he really wasn't anything. I wouldn't have called him a superstar. 90-inch
He blew up.
2-year-old, probably mid 40s,
So he
and he's a
blew up.
3-year-old 8-point,
That's wild.
low to mid 40s.
So
that
2
picture I
more
sent you was
years.
850 yards through a rifle scope.
So 2 more years, that's potential one that
Exactly.
Makes Bow Hunt Magazine, you know what I mean?
He's,
That's
he,
just what it
if he
is.
can make it 2 or 3 more years, he'll be a world class 8-point.
And
if he can make it.
And Brandon, I get to see so many deer at the deer plant. We get 2,500 deer in. You get to see so many superstars. 10 points come in this big.
Yeah.
1 year,
Yeah,
1 year old.
makes you sick.
Well, I
half
look
year
at them. I look at them, and I kind of just look away and man,
High five.
Yeah, but I'm thinking $100 bill. Hey man, yeah. but you see people, and I don't know what they're hunting. They may be hunting pawpaws, 25 acres, or in the back of a field, and they're happy with it. But I see potential, and I love the state of Mississippi. I love hunting Mississippi. I love seeing Mississippi deer kill, whether it's in Delta, Noxubee, wherever they're at. I keep up with it, and I like it. Because I've hunted Midwest, and we got the biggest deer. Y'all have really that big deer in Mississippi? I said, no, we really do.
Got pretty good ones.
Yeah, I mean, we got
Some big deer
we got
here,
some
yeah.
good deer, and we're the two dummies that's talking about them. Those cats in the Delta won't talk about them. It's a big secret over there. I know of one guy that's got 50 of them mounted, and their biggest deer. When I look at them, I said, you would think Kansas. No, they come right out of LaFleur County.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
There are some giants.
Giants, but they don't talk about them.
No.
They're really quiet on them, and I understand the game. I mean, I understand
That's
that.
right.
But if we can't, that's why we put this podcast together. If we can't share some of this stuff, how are we going to ask this guy to do right down here?
Yeah.
If I don't share with him,
See, I try
how
to
am I
talk
gonna
to
do
my
that?
neighbors as much as I can
Well,
about these
let
certain
them in
deer.
on what you. Yeah.
Let them in, tell them what I'm doing. Say, look, man, like that deer, that 3-year-old. I said, look, I'm not shooting this deer for 2 more years. And he's like, okay, we'll try not to. Ain't gonna make any promises because
Sure.
he's probably
That's
gonna
right.
blow up at
That's
4,
right.
and
But
I'm not
once
gonna be
you
mad at
know,
him if he
once
does.
you know your neighbor isn't,
But-
that takes away a lot of that.
Oh yeah,
that
and I enjoy being
obligation
able
to
to
do
text
yourself.
him pictures back and forth some, and let's talk about it a little
Look,
bit.
If we keep it all bottled up, we don't never get to enjoy it.
That's
We
right.
keep it all bottled up for what? What are we gonna share it with? Your daughter, like I do with my daughter? Hey, you got to be able to talk about it. And if it helps one guy, if one guy looks at that deer, Brandon, take my neighbor for example. He sees that deer, he said, Chris ain't gonna shoot, I'm not gonna shoot it. Because you may feel a little bit embarrassment. And if I do shoot, I can't put it out there because Chris doesn't let it go 5
Well,
times.
that accountability,
Yeah.
and then that look. I mean,
It
that's
takes one deer.
part of
Whether
it.
he kills it at 5.5, I'll be fired up, or I kill it at 5.5. We let it get that old.
That's right. Yeah.
We both protect. We both grew it together. So Brent tell you, I burn for my neighbor. Don't charge him a dime. I'll go burn his stuff because I know my deer's gonna eat in his place.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah, they're not just specific to your
you're not
area.
just
They're
petting
gonna.
them. No, they're gonna move.
They're gonna move around. That's right.
And my philosophy, and I try, and we start talking about habitat, okay? And I was talking to your buddy Lee earlier, and Lee was taking some cedars out. He said, Chris, I want to put a little more cover. I said, Lee, you ain't gonna miss them cedars. They do nothing for you. If you got some good grass to come up in there,
Bring it back some natural grasses.
Natural
and,
grasses that
man,
they
some
can
good
lay in.
bedding.
Hey, you're game on.
That's right.
I think, and I'm doing some stuff down in the bottom right now, thinking about some stuff,
Yeah, some
putting
pretty
some
cool
little old thick
project.
stuff, and I'm trying to get it back to little mini thickets, little mini cane thickets, okay, all over, and we're gonna do something on it a little later. But it's making those deer. I've noticed that these bigger deer don't like being around other deer.
yeah. They're like those
They're-
old
they're-
men.
they're grumpy.
Like,
They're grumpy,
They're
you know?
not. They don't. That social
I know how they
network.
feel sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that guy. It's
be
like that
alone
old
a
man
little
up there at Hardy's eating that bacon, egg, and cheese, and you come in and say, "How's that biscuit?" Oh, you're like, well, my bad, dude. I'd have bought it for you if you. But it just, I've noticed that when they get a certain age, they don't want to be around.
Mitt
right.
Mitt
Yep.
framed it pretty good. You
Yeah.
talk about like the old man that likes to read or something. He's sitting around the house, and when company comes over, he just kind of slips off to his office or to his study.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of these big mature deer do. They
Yeah,
don't
Most
like
of the ones that
crowd.
I've killed, they're like that. They come in completely.
or
by
they'll come
themselves.
on the field
solos,
and these
And-
deer leave.
Yep.
Other deer move away.
So,
from
exactly
so
right.
a lot of my bedding covers bigger 30 and 40 acre spots of grass. So what I'm trying to do is pan some smaller spots that's individual thickets for some of these deer. I can't prove that they're going to use them, but look, that study that Bronson come out, well, one of those bucks used, what was it, 36 different bedding locations. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He just didn't. He bedded 36 different places
Yeah.
on this property.
Yeah.
They had
give him more options.
give more options.
More options
And-
within that
and-
same footprint of acreage.
Yeah, right. And I'm
You
doing
never know
them-
that they aren't, but that you don't know that they're not.
Right. Well, I
know?
tell you this: once you make them, and you're taking open canopy little saplings, and you're putting some thicker stuff, I promise you, something's going to use them.
Yeah.
I
One of
guarantee
these
it.
deer going to use them.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, we're playing with some stuff, and I think it's going to be a pretty good little thing.
Look, you may have to come back 'cause we didn't even
Yeah.
get into turkeys and these turkey calls you make. I got him to bring a few turkey calls.
Yeah, but
Brandon
look,
started
I had a
making
few laying
mouth
around from
calls.
last
I had
year.
Brandon some Boston butt sausage up here.
And
And he
I've been
brings
eyeballing that too. I've been
bag of-
eyeballing the sausage over here too.
He brought us a big bag of calls over here, so we could have fired up about that.
Yeah.
Well, look, y'all, that was a
I enjoy talking about deer.
Ain't no
we've been
doubt.
on
Ain't no
turkeys
doubt.
and trapping and a lot of other things lately that I love.
I
But, man,
love the turkey hunt, and I think
love
you
to
do
talk
too.
deer.
Oh, I love turkey hunting, but
my
deer,
deer's in my mind.
yeah, they've always got.
love
my
to grow 'em.
I always catch myself when I'm turkey hunting. I'm looking
Yeah.
for sheds the whole time.
Yeah.
Constantly looking for sheds.
And Brent's he's got them eyeballs for sheds. He can spot them, man. He finds them everywhere we go.
You might need to go with me this year, I guess,
Yeah,
turkey hunting.
I mean,
See if
he
we
can
can find
find
some
some
of 'em.
sheds.
I
but, we started.
That was invite, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we started really looking for some now, and
we got some
they
specific
shed. And I
ones we
found
wanna
some.
find.
Look, when we did a little coon roundup, I found a 10-point sitting right there together.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
My deer, they typically don't drop until I've got
Turkey
another.
season.
I've got another 2 to 3 weeks.
yeah. Well, this
Before
one I
mine will
found
drop.
was
Pictures
over.
of a beautiful
Clay
10
County.
point on that listing I got in Columbia and Lowndes County.
Has he already got
like
his
a
heads going?
3-year-old.
Still got 'em up there?
Beautiful 10.
Yeah,
just
mine
showed up.
hold. They hold late.
My two big deer, the 3 big deer that we got, they all 3 hard horns.
Yep.
They're still hard horns.
But the good thing, in my opinion, about holding late, they hold that velvet a little later too.
It's a good point.
Because I've killed velvet
Yeah.
deer the past several years, almost
Yeah.
every year, because my big deer hold
Yeah.
their velvet for
And you know where that's
the
going
first
from.
probably 2 weeks.
You know where that's going
a
from.
week and a half.
It's when
for
they were
some
born.
reason.
It's
That's when they're born. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's right.
It's the timing, and that's another different thing. I don't want to get into. We'll have people so confused, but the timing they're born.
Well, we'll go another hour, and I'll be
affects-
eyeballing that sausage.
Yeah. So anyway,
My wife be calling me.
yeah,
in a
she
little
was
while.
like, "Where's he at?"
Where you went? I made a friend. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, Brent, I thought that's pretty
Shoot,
good.
yeah,
Brandon,
man.
I'm going to
Thank
tell you
you for
something.
coming on.
I
I enjoyed
appreciate.
I enjoyed it.
I appreciate you coming
I'm
in.
glad y'all
and-
invited
and-
me.
and
Yeah,
no-
I'm
no
big
question.
fans of you and your
Yeah.
dad. Aside from hunting, y'all just good people.
Well,
Yeah, we've
I
known each
hear-
other for quite a while now.
I
guess,
hear a
through-
lot
through work.
I hear a lot about him, but what I've heard about him and what my conversation today about him has been spot on.
Yep.
Spot
Dude,
on.
serious. He
that's-
can kill
that's-
big
that's
deer.
good. Yeah.
You
is
see
this
why?
right?
You see
Yeah,
why?
ain't no
I mean,
question.
he's serious about
No
it.
question. No question.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No,
I do my best, and
Yeah.
I put a lot of effort, time
Yeah.
and effort into it.
Look,
It's
I
really
want to
paid
you
off.
get this feed going. We want
I'll
you
let
to
you
come
know.
back. We
I'll
want
let
you to
you-
come
yeah.
back on, and we want you to talk about it. When you
I'll
get
bring
get
some
ready,
over here, and I'll show it to you.
When you get ready to put it out there,
Yeah,
look, we
we'll
want to
do
help
it.
you. We want to help you all we can.
We'll do
yeah,
it.
heck yeah.
Thank you. I sure appreciate it.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Sounds good.
See you.